the financial summary in the Mayfair system. Due to the high-level nature of this presentation, not all of the information can be provided. If you have any questions after the presentation, please reach out to an OPI school staff member. So one of the very first steps, especially if you're a new clerk, is making sure that you have access to Mayfairs. If you don't have access, you'll need to go to the OPI School Finance webpage. You'll go to Application Access Resources on the bottom left of the page, and there you will find access guides and the access form. Once completed, the access form needs to be sent to Amanda Ziggin. Clicking on Amanda's name will open an email address to her so that you can send it to her. You're going to find most documents referenced throughout the presentation on the School Finance website. To get to the School Finance website, start at opi.mt.gov. Along the top of the page, select Leadership. You'll go to Finance and Grants, and then School Finance. So let's get started by going to the website to find the TFS instructions. The TFS instructions are found by clicking on the accounting link. You'll click on the Guidance and Manuals panel. Click the Other Materials section and click on the TFS instructions link. You should read through the TFS instructions before starting your reporting to get you familiar with the process, and it'll also provide you with knowledge of where to get help if you get stuck on something. You may want to save a copy of the instructions to your desktop for future reference. Complete items 1 through 4 before you start entering your TFS data. These 4 steps can be done before the TFS windows opens. It's open now, but we recommend that you get working on those now. The most important step is to have your year-end cash balances reconciled with the county treasurer, as you cannot complete the TFS accurately without this step. Hopefully you are balancing with the county each month, and if you're not currently balanced, this needs your immediate attention, as you must be balanced through June 30th to complete this process. Some of the forms referenced in the TFS completion checklist can be found under the Accounting, Guidance and Manual section on the OPI website. There you will see the Compensated Absences worksheet, the Miscellaneous Fund worksheet, the Reconciling Cash to County Treasurer spreadsheet, and the Student Activity Fund worksheet. You also want to get a copy of the budget instructions as well. You'll go to Leadership, Finance and Grants, School Finance, Budgets, Budget Spreadsheet and Guidance, and you'll want to read through those also. They contain a checklist of what you will need before you start your budget data entry. You'll also want to print these or save a copy to your desktop for future reference. Renee will go into that a little more in the presentation later today. If you don't already have a copy of your post-session preliminary budget data sheet, you'll want to print a copy or save it to your desktop. So under Budgets, go to the Preliminary Budget Data Sheet panel and select Fiscal Year 2024. You're going to need this for step 1 of the TFS page 2 when you do the pre-filled data verification for the budget amounts. Make sure that the preliminary budget data sheet you are working with is the most current version labeled post-session. On the School Finance homepage, scroll to the bottom of the page. On the left-hand side, you'll see the School Finance Application Resources panel. Click here and it will bring you to the Mayfair System login link. Click the Mayfair System link and it will take you to the secure portal to log in for Mayfair's access. Once logged in, you will click on the Financial Reporting Mayfair's icon. Okay, so we're ready to get started. The TFS has 15 steps. You should start with step 1 and work your way through to step 15. And to get to the steps, you will go to data entry. You'll go down to trustee financial summary. And we're going to start with step 1, pre-filled data verification. You're going to select your district, select fiscal year 2023, and print to a PDF. The first page of the pre-filled data verification is the 2023 TFS amounts. You're going to check these amounts for accuracy by making sure the payments listed match the payments that you received. If you find any discrepancies, please contact myself or Andrea Mohammadi. The second page of the pre-filled data verification is the 2024 budget amounts. You'll need these later when you're doing the budget report. Once you have the TFS pre-fills verified, you can move on to step 2. Step 2, budget amendments and transfers. If you did any budget amendments or transfers, they will show up on this screen. They are pre-filled by OPI after the paperwork is done. If you think you should have one and do not see it, you'll need to contact Autumn Belmont. The first example is a school that didn't have either one, and the second example is a school that had a budget amendment. Step 3, software. Enter your LE number and filter to bring up your LE and your LE's accounting package. If you find the software package for your LE is incorrect, or you have changed your software, you'll need to click on the edit button and select the appropriate software vendor in the dropdown. The All LE's accounting package list button at the bottom of the page will produce an Excel spreadsheet showing what software each school has. This can be very resourceful if you're in a position where you need some help. You can go to this list, find another school that has the same software as you, and maybe they can help you out. Step 4, project reporter codes. Project reporter codes permit a school district to separately track expenditures to meet a variety of specialized reporting requirements at local, state, and federal levels. A unique PRC should be assigned to the revenue and expenditure accounts used to account for each grant or project. The code permits the user to relate expenditures to a specific revenue source. It is designed specifically for state and federal grants, but are also used to track local projects within a fund. PRCs are required in the miscellaneous fund. 100 through 899 are to be assigned by districts. The 900s are reserved by the OPI, with 910 through 949 being assigned for budget amendments, and 950 through 959 being assigned for budget transfers. After entering your LE, click on the Show Prior Year Programs. This is going to show a list of PRCs from the prior year. If you're using the same PRC from last year, click Copy to the current year next to that PRC. This is going to save you time from having to manually input the information over again. It'll roll that PRC up to the current year PRC section of the page. Make sure you click Save. If you don't, it's not going to move it, and you're going to wonder where it went. All PRCs need to be entered here before trying to enter expenditures that require a PRC in step 4. So this is what it looks like when you move them up to the current year PRC. The prior year PRC screen works like an Excel spreadsheet. You can sort each column by clicking on the underlined header. If you click on the underlined PRC, it'll put all the PRCs in numeric order. If you click on the underlined program title, it'll put the PRC titles in alphabetical order. You can also manually input any new PRCs. Enter the PRC number you want in the PRC box. Click on the title down arrow and it'll have a list of grants that are already in Mayfair's. Choose the grants you want and make sure to hit the Save button. If the title you want is not in there, you can add your own description here in the title field. Fill in all the boxes and save. Most of the Fund 15 grants will be in the dropdown. Check the title a couple different ways to make sure it's not already there before adding your own. And no worries if you forget a PRC in this step, you can always come back and add more. Page 19 of the Chart of Accounts manual has been updated to include project reporter code numbers from 100 to 899. Previously, it read 1 to 899. Project reporter codes should be 3 digits. 001 is not a 3-digit number. You'll run into problems uploading your CSV files into Mayfair's if you don't use 3 digits. This will require you to have to open the CSV file you're trying to upload in Excel, put the dropped zeros back in, and resave as a CSV file, close it, and try uploading again. We call this having to pad the column in your upload files. So if you ever hear us say that, that's what it means. There are districts out there that have previously used PRC codes under 100, and that's okay. They don't have to change that, but they can run into problems with those uploads, and that's why we recommend using 100 or higher. Step 5, balance sheet. Most vendor software will produce a balance sheet report, so you know what data you need to input. If your software vendor does not produce a report for you, you can find the information from your county treasurer's balance sheet and the county report to which you have balanced. You'll need to go through all the funds in the drop-down menu in this step. So here where it says fund code, general fund, you click this arrow and it's going to show all of your funds. So you'll need to do this for each one of them. Active fund, what's included within the cash and investments category, you can go to your TFS instructions, and pages 9 through 15 will give you a description of what belongs in each of the categories. Here's an example of what you'll find in the TFS instructions for descriptions of the balance codes. You'll probably have taxes receivables to add, and if you do, you'll also have deferred inflows. If you have protested taxes, add your taxes receivable and the protested taxes together for a total deferred inflow amount. These amounts will come from your county treasurer's June reports. It's always a good idea to compare with last year's report, as they should not be much different from year to year. If you want to upload your expenditures and revenues for steps 6 and 7, you can go back out to the school finance page, go to accounting, other accounting resources, and click on the TFS revenue expenditure upload instructions. Your software vendor should have the ability to create a report from your expenditure and revenue data for you to import. These files should already be in the format that Mayfair's needs. If you're not sure if your vendor's report is in the correct format, or you're having troubles uploading, you can view the template on the OPI website to check. If you have troubles uploading, confirm that the LE number is 4 digits, the school codes are 4 digits, and Fund 1 is 2 digits. Refer to the upload instructions if you have any questions. This is one of the times you might have to pad the columns by opening them in Excel, making the formatting corrections, and saving them as a CSV file before trying to re-upload. A lot of times our school codes start with zeros, so it's pretty common that that 0 will get dropped and you'll need to go put it back in. Step 6, revenues. There will be pre-filled data amounts here. You'll know what's pre-filled because it'll say yes under calculated. These amounts should match your pre-filled data verification report that you verified from step 1. And again, if any of these pre-filled amounts do not look right, call OPI right away. We want to get those fixed. Another thing to point out here is you will need to do the drop down for your fund code and do this for all of your funds. However, when you import, you can import all funds at once. You can also manually enter your revenues. You'll find these amounts in your county treasurer's June 30th report or your software vendor's report. Once you have all your revenues entered, you're going to move on to step 7 to expenditures. Refer again to the TFS expenditure revenue upload instructions on the OPI website to upload your expenditure file. Make note of the red warning in the middle of the screen. You can select specific fund codes for upload or leave the fund blank, and the file will upload revenues to all funds at one time or expenditures, depending on what you're working on. Be aware that if data was previously entered, it will be overwritten. If you choose to manually enter the codes, you can do so by entering the expenditure string and the amount and clicking save. Once you use a string of expenditures, it disappears from the list. Mayfair's does not allow you to use the same expenditure string twice for the same school code. Here's an example of expenditures in the miscellaneous programs fund. We entered an expenditure without a PRC. You can see that Mayfair's will not allow you to enter expenditures in Fund 15 without a PRC. This must be fixed to save the entry. If you do not have a PRC created yet, no worries. From this screen, click on the Go to Project Reporter page to manually add the PRC. From there, you can jump back to the Return to Expenditure page and continue with your expenditure inputs for each fund. If you choose to upload your expenditures and need the upload template, it can be found in the same location as the revenue upload template. Everyone's really quiet. No questions yet. We must all know exactly what we're doing. That's good. Step 7A, ESSA expenditure validation. This screen allows you to pull and review reports to verify the school level and district-wide expenditures you have input. Step 8, detail expenditures. This is a required supplemental report of specific expenditures. These expenditures cannot be calculated from information provided in the schedule of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance as they are rolled up. This specific information is needed by the OPI for federal reporting purposes, and in some cases, the ESSA per pupil expenditure reporting. Report expenditures, including cash expenditures and expenditure accruals plus encumbrances for all funds for the specific expenditure line items. The amounts to report for this form are included in the totals reported on the schedule of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance. Refer to pages 20, 21, and 22 of the trustees' financial summary instructions for which detailed coding needs to be entered here. Pay close attention to the salaries with the different program codes. These need to be individually recorded. In this screen, you will manually enter detailed expenditures for all funds. Your software vendor may prepare this report for you, but if they do not, you'll have to do a query of these detailed expenditure lines out of your software. Manually enter each expenditure by selecting the expenditure string codes and entering the amounts from your software vendor's detailed sheet. This report should match your final detailed expenditure report that you will be submitting. The coding of Fund XX, Program XXX, Function XXXX, Object 112 will include all salaries for all program codes. Make sure to deduct any program 280, 390, 451, and 457 salary amounts from the total of this expenditure string. You do not want to count these twice. Click on Print Detail Expenditure Report, and this is what you'll see when the report is generated. The lines in boxes are the program salary amounts listed previously to be deducted from salaries. Step 9, ESSA LE per pupil expense reporting in funds 12, 15, and 82. So what information is recorded here? Expenditures from School Food Services Fund, where one district is operating a food service program for another district or entity, must be reported to the correct LE and school code or another agency where applicable. An example of that is when you have an elementary and a high school, it's most common. The elementary runs the whole lunch program, and a school needs to allocate the high school portion of expenditures to the high school. It would be done on this screen. Also, federal grants reported in the miscellaneous funds 15, where one district is the prime applicant for another, also typically elementary and high school districts, must be reported to the proper LE and school code. Also, expenditures from the Interlocal Agreement Fund 82 must also be reported to the correct LE and school code or another agency where applicable. All LE reporting and expenditures will complete the step to assign expenditures. So all LEs reporting the expenditures will complete the step to assign expenditures to the proper LE, meaning the LE that incurred the expenditure. The reporting LE will report all expenditures in the School Food Services Fund 12, the Miscellaneous Programs Fund 15, or the Interlocal Agreement Fund 82 in Step 7. Then this screen is used to remove those expenditures from their LE and assign them to the appropriate LE. The total expenditures for the reporting LE cannot be less than the expenditures reported as non-district expenditures. There are 3 Excel reports to assist districts with data verifications. All you need to do is click on the reports you want to review. This data can be entered manually or uploaded using the same import instructions as before. You can select specific fund codes for upload or leave the fund blank, and the file will upload expenditures to all funds at one time. If there was data previously entered, it will be overwritten when you do that. So this example shows that the expenditure that needs to be assigned to the high school is entered in Step 7 without a school code. It'll be allocated to the high school's school code in Step 9. Okay, Step 10, fixed assets. Select the activity type. Your choices are business or governmental. Most often you'll use governmental. Business refers to funds 70 through 79. And here you can add a new asset record or select a current asset and enter current year additions at cost that exceed your capitalization threshold and current year removals at cost for each category of asset. This information comes from your fixed assets and depreciation spreadsheet, which is reviewed by your auditors every year. This information can be adjusted until December 10th, and that's usually because you had an audit and the auditors requested a change. Click select next to an activity to make the appropriate changes. Use the adjustment field if you're making an adjustment to the beginning balance, such as if there was an auditor correction or if you have the wrong beginning balance for some other reason. To increase an amount, you'll enter the increase amount in the additions field. To decrease an amount, enter the decrease amount as a positive value in the removals field. When done making asset entries, click the depreciation button. These amounts should come from the depreciation schedule spreadsheet that you and your auditor update each year. From the fixed assets screen, you can go directly to the long-term liabilities screen by clicking on the Go to Long-Term Liabilities button. This is just kind of a shortcut. It's simpler than going out to the data entry screen and navigating through all the menus. You'll see these shortcut buttons all throughout You can click on them at any time. Oh, looks like we might have a question. Okay. Okay, it looks like we're gonna get through here pretty quick, so I'll finish and then we will unmute you one at a time and let you ask your questions. So step 11, long-term liabilities. Note that districts with a financial review once every 4 years are not required to report this information on the TFS, but are still required to maintain a listing of long-term liabilities and make it available to their auditor. Long-term liabilities include capital leases, compensated absences, SID, other long-term loans payable, most often intercap loans, other post-employment benefits, OPEB, and net pension liabilities. So now select your activity type, governmental, and a screen will populate with the long-term liabilities compensated absences amounts. Click select to make changes to your compensated absences amount. So here's a copy of the compensated absences worksheet that's on the OPI website. It's in accounting under guidance and manuals. This spreadsheet's here to help you calculate the amount you can keep in your compensated absences fund. You'll want to make sure that you enter the current rates for FICA, TRS, PERS, unemployment, and work comp. The template on the website does not have the current rate information in it. Information in the yellow boxes can be changed. The boxes not in yellow are protected and will calculate as you enter data into the yellow boxes. The first tab allows you to put in your teacher's liability. This may look different for each school, as usually your collective bargaining agreement is what determines what your long-term expenditure will be. There are tabs for your teaching staff and non-teaching staff with both work comp classifications. This is the recap page. It'll show the maximum amount allowed in the compensated absences liability fund 21. It will take your total liability and multiply it by 30% to come up with the maximum amount allowed in the compensated absences liability fund. Then you'll enter the cash balance in Fund 21 as of June 30th on the next line. This will give you the amount allowed to transfer. If it's a negative, you must transfer back to the general fund. If it's a positive, you may transfer up to that amount from the general fund. And I know a lot of you are new, so I just want to be clear here. Not every district uses Fund 21. So this part may or may not apply to all districts. One more thing. Even if you don't use this fund, you're still going to need your total liability amount because you'll need to enter it into your long-term liabilities on your TFS. Here's where you can find the compensated absences worksheet if you need one. Next, go to your net pension liabilities. The previous year's ending balances will carry over. These are your PERS and TRS balances. You'll need to select each separately and make changes according to your GASB statements for your district for each. Links to the TRS and MPERS statements are available on the OPI website under Accounting, Other Accounting Resources. Or you can go to the TRS website for their report. These reports are usually posted on their website by the end of the first week in August or sooner. You can also go to the MPERA website for theirs. The reports are usually posted to the MPERA website around the third week of July. Step 12, review special education reversion. Select special education reversion, fiscal year 2023, your district, and print to PDF. And then open the file. State law requires a district to match 25% of the total program. This report calculates the amount of special education reversion required based on a calculation of Program Code 280 expenditures to state paid special education revenues 3115. Here's a copy of the report looks like. If you're from Bainville, please don't panic. The entered data is not accurate. This is from our test system and is just some random data that we entered for an example. The instructional block grant entitlement amount will pre-fill, as will the related services block grant entitlement that was paid to your co-op. These numbers generate the minimum special education expenditures to avoid a reversion, shown on line E. Line F shows the grand total of special education expenditures that you have entered in your TFS. Line G is calculated to show if you have a reversion amount or not. If the amount on line G is greater than 0, Revenue Source Code 3115 states special education allowable cost payment to districts in the general fund will be reduced automatically. The amount will be used to fund the special education allowable cost entitlement next year. Include the reverted amount on the general fund balance sheet and deferred inflows. If you have a reversion, you can always go back through all of your expenditures and make sure there isn't any special education expenses that you missed coding to 280. Anything you find can be corrected and will hopefully take care of the reversion. Step 13, SPED excess cost calculator. Review this report to verify the appropriate calculations to determine the minimum amount a school district must spend for education of students with disabilities before it may use funds under Part B of the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, IDEA. Essentially, the excess cost calculation is ensuring that the average expenditure amount per pupil is the minimum amount also spent on special education students as well. This may or may not apply to your school district. Okay, step 14, TFS validation. Select the validations to be included on the report. The default is all validations and print to a PDF. Here's an example of the TFS report. Corrective validations must be corrected before a district can submit. These are examples of warnings and information. These also need to be addressed, even though you'll be allowed to submit with the errors. Read over them, make sure there's nothing in there that needs to be corrected. After you've cleared all the validations, review your TFS report and verify its accuracy. Go to Reports, TFS, and TFS again, and print to PDF to view the report. The first page of the report will be the cover page. Make sure that the contacts are correct. If you're a new business manager or clerk, you'll want to make sure that your name is listed on the pre-filled TFS and budget cover pages. The TFS cover page also has the clerk, chairman, board of trustees, and county superintendent. And as long as you're updating contact information, this can also be reviewed for the budget report. Go to Reports, Budget, Budget again, select Cover Page Only, and print to PDF to see the budget contact names. It has the same 3 names on it, so you'll just want to make sure those are correct. If they're incorrect, you'll need to update your information with OPI. Go to the OPI website at opi.mt.gov. You'll go to Leadership, and then Montana Schools Directory and Update Directory. When you click Update Directory, the OPI Secure Portal screen will open. Sign into the secure portal and click on the Contacts application icon. If you have any troubles, you can click on the instructions or contact the OPI for help options under the resources on the Update Directory screen. Okay, we are at the end. Step 15, submit TFS to OPI. We've gotten to this point. All our validations are cleared. We've verified our reports. We're feeling good about them. But you cannot submit until both the TFS and budgets are complete. And keep in mind that any changes made to the TFS will affect your budget. Only special education cooperatives can submit the TFS without a budget. Mayfair's requires districts with budget submissions to submit the TFS and budget reports together. Here's a list of the OPI school finance staff members who can assist with questions that you might have. One of these folks should be able to help either answer your questions or direct you to the correct person for help. Please download this presentation file from the OPI School Finance website when it's posted and keep these phone numbers handy. I guess we can go to our questions.